David Palomo here, steward of OMG Kitchen Bath in Alamo City Handyman, proudly serving San Antonio, Texas and immediate surrounding areas. Today is the first in a series of instructional videos, DIY projects you can do at home. And our first topic is going to be on wall hangings. Now, when we're talking about wall hangings, we're talking everything from pictures, frames, to heavy wall mirrors and art. So we get a lot of calls from those for our handyman division. One of the great things about doing it yourself nowadays is that there's a lot of great hardware products out there now that you can get in big box stores that it made it very simple and easy for people to do it themselves and at home. We're going to be discussing the products to use, suggested products to use, safety first, what to look for on a wall, and some of the tools that you would need to use. Now, if you have something light that's easy to hang, nothing beats a nail and a screw. Those are pretty simple to do on your own. But when you get into specialized art that maybe has 2 wall hooks on the back or a heavy wall mirror like the one we're going to do today, knowing what to use to make it simple can go a long way. So we're going to cover those topics today. We're going to grab a couple of the tools that we'll be using, and we're going to head on in and do some of the projects. First, before we start, I want to emphasize safety. I always emphasize safety, whether it's with my staff or anything that I'm doing at home or myself. You want to make sure you're comfortable with the tools you're using. And in this case, we're going to be using some simple hand tools, screwdrivers, hammer, level, tape measure. If you want to make it a little simpler and you have a drill, you can use a drill. So make sure you're comfortable with using those tools. And also, when you're drilling into a wall or nailing or screwing into any type of wall in your home, you want to make sure that you have an idea of what you're drilling into. So in other words, if you know where your studs are, fine, but you also want to know what's inside that wall. So for instance, in this case, I know that this wall backs up to our office. So I know, I'm 99% sure there's no plumbing lines or AC lines running through here. Also, if you're not sure, you want to tread carefully. So with that being said, this particular wall hanging, like I say, it has a double hook on the back. So first thing we do is measure the center between those 2 racks. And in this case, from center to center of these 2 little rack hooks, it's 9.5 inches. So we know that our 2 hooks that we're going to use are going to be 9.5 inches. And in this case, we're using probably one of the simplest pieces of hardware that's out there. This one is a brand called OMG, but there are several other lines out there. Basically, it's just a threaded screw with a little head on it that stops and sticks out. So you can actually use this on drywall. Now it's ranked for 100 pounds. If I'm just going into drywall, I'm not gonna put something that's 100 pounds up there. I probably go something lighter, so just be cautious with that. So in this case, we need to mount 2 pieces of this hardware at 9.5 inches. And what I did was I took a pencil and I marked my center, and then I put 2 marks on my level at 9.5. I went up to the wall, leveled it, and put my 2 marks on the wall. Now, if you don't want to mark your wall, you can also use a couple of pieces of blue tape if you like. If those marks are going to bother you, use some blue tape, mark them, find your center. Also, in this case, what we did was we put the picture up to where we knew we wanted it, and then we measured from the floor, knowing that we wanted those rack hooks to be right at 68. So you kind of measure the size of your picture, measure where your racks are, line it up to the wall, measure it from the floor. And there's a number of different ways to do this, but that's probably one of the easiest. It's just kind of lined it up, measure from the top or the bottom, knowing where your hooks are. So I'm going to show 2 ways to mount these screws. One with a drill, which is very simple and easy. So it stops. And then we're going to do one just by hand. If you don't have a drill, a Phillips head screwdriver works just as well. You can get a nail or a screw and tap it with a hammer if you want to start your little pilot hole. And there you go. As you can see, it goes up real easy. So now we have our mounts. Let's see, get this pretty picture up of our grandson. And there you go. Our first picture done, very simple, very easy. Probably more prep time than anything. And now we're gonna go into a heavier type mirror object. That'll be our next hanging. Okay, on to our second and final wall hanging for today. We do have a heavy mirror here. It doesn't look real heavy, but it is about 30, 40 pounds. This particular mirror is strung with it's got a double hook on the back, but it's got a wire strung across. Some will come pre-strung with a wire. If yours doesn't, and you've got this double hook, you can put a wire on there. However, if you're concerned whether your frame will support that type of hardware, consult with a picture framing shop. They will help you make sure that you've got the right hardware to put a string on them. These make it real easy too for centering and leveling. Once you find your center on the wall, you can put your hardware on, easy to level and so forth. So since this one is a heavier mirror, we're going to use again some simple hardware that is made for heavier objects. One of the simplest, and again I'll show these pictures at the end, is these hooks, these stab-in hooks. So again, you don't have to know where your studs are in the wall. You can put your placement anywhere, and in this case, we know there's no stud here. We've already pre-marked our walls, but we're gonna use these stab-in hooks that make it real simple and easy. So for instance, in this case, we took our mirror, we marked it on the wall where we wanted it, and I'm gonna show you kind of how we did it. You can take your mirror and say that's going to be your top. Mark it with a piece of tape at the top. Measure from the string line on the back of the mirror to the top. Know what your distance is, and in this case I think it's about 6 or 7 inches. Then you measure down 6 inches, say this one's 6. You measure down, and then you know where your cable is going to go. So we've got ours pre-marked already, and these particular hooks say they support 35 pounds each. We're going to put 2 in just for to be extra safe, and also to help for leveling. So we made marks, and I'm going to show you how simple these are. You can just stab these in straight into the drywall. They hook right in into the drywall. They recess in, and they're supported by the way that they're shaped into the drywall. So here's the other one. And if you don't want to use brute strength to stab these in, you can tap in a nail hole to kind of do a pilot with a nail and a hammer. So we've got these stabbed in, ready to go. We'll remove our piece of tape. Take our mirror. And there we go. Level it nice, and we have it in our location. So there's other hardware too out there. If you've got some real super heavy objects, again, OOK is the line, but they make others that also stab into the wall, a little heavier duty type hook. So there's a number of products out there, even one that goes up to 50, and this one goes up to 200 pounds. Again, simple, easy, just some good preparation, safety first, and of course, if all else fails, call a professional. They'll be happy to come out and take care of you. Well, thank you for watching. We hope you found that video helpful and informative. As always, we welcome your comments and suggestions, so feel free to drop them here on the link. You can also reach out to us with any questions, or if you have any future projects that you would like to see done, we'd be happy to hear from you as well on those. As always, whether you have a question, you can reach out to us through one of our websites or our phone number. Whether it's a question on a DIY project you're doing on your own, or whether you need a consultation for a project, we'd be happy to hear from you. So until next time, Remember, safety first, and we'll see you around the toolbox.